and welcome to this week's episode of I Never Knew, but My Dog Did podcast. I am Maureen Scanlon, your hostess. I am a master life coach specializing in elevating your self-worth, boosting your glow, learning to love yourself, your self-image, self-confidence, all that fun stuff, as well as a relationship expert, which I never say too often. That's probably one of my most favorite things is my dating coaching and my relationship coaching is so fun. So I haven't said that too much on the podcast, so I want to sort of highlight that today. And let's see, any other housekeeping things? No, I think we're good other than my Austin people. We're having a vending event this weekend in Hutto. So if you're around, come see us. Let's see. As I always say to you guys, my guests are fantastic. And every week I bring you something new, something different, something fun, something moving and inspiring. So my next guest, excuse me, her and I have met through, like mutual networking, and we were both on a little panel, a couple of panels actually. And so we just really connected and felt like we were like kindred spirits, and we met offline and talked. We could have talked for 3 hours. And so I told her, you have to come on because this is going to be just a fun conversation and really super authentic. So let me tell you about her. So Julie Deanne, as the creator of the My Time Within program, isn't only about helping people live better lives and thrive. She seeks to create a sea change in mass education to transform not only our children's lives, but the world. Woof. Don't you love that? I love that. Like bar, super high, goals, hashtag goals. I love it. Like aim for the stars, guys. Julie is a certified life transformation coach and illumination guide. Fantastic. A TEDx speaker and international best-selling author committed to adapting her knowledge and skills in the best health, meditation, and breathwork practices to apply to children. Her passion for teaching meditation through what she calls My Time Within to cultivate a daily mindfulness practice specially developed for children in schools is expressed in her TEDx talk available on YouTube. Woo woo! So Julianne is here today. She was inspired to write and self-publish her first children's book called Which Would You Choose? While meditating. See, I love that. Meditating gives you inspiration, guys. So just take that time to listen to where your path needs to go. And I just love that so much. With feedback and assistance from her young daughter, this book is written as a guide to help children learn emotional intelligence and how choosing better thoughts leads to better results in your life. Through a series of scenarios, Julie seeks to impart brave thinking principles to children so that they can learn the power of choosing better thoughts and in the process help them learn self-regulation and resilience. Sharing her experiences while bringing these life-changing practices into classrooms has become Julie's mission. Love it. Hi, Julie. Hi, Julie Deanne. How are you today?
Gosh, hi, Maureen. I'm doing fabulous. Thank you so much for bringing me on today. It's always a joy and a pleasure to talk with you and obviously to be sharing, wonderful, powerful information and practices with folks.
Yes, yes. And you and I are all about the kiddos and being a children's writing a children's book is something that, it just once that seed is planted, there's like I feel like it just keeps going and going and going. Like I have ideas for like 20 more children's books. And I love that for you, it was like, oh, it came to me in meditation. And once you do it, I always say writing a book is like potato chips. You can't do just one. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
you're gonna want to do like a whole bunch and try, unique different genres. But I'm so glad that you're here today, and I cannot wait to share with the audience today everything that you've gone through. And so the very first thing we always address here on Inc. is we have a knee story or multiple knee stories in our life, meaning those moments when, man, we were on our knees just going, oh,
Mm,
head in hands, shaking our heads like this isn't working.
yeah.
Something's not good. This is not where I belong. This doesn't feel right. I'm so miserable. And so, if you would be so kind as to share, what's a knee story for you that really stands out that kind of changed the trajectory of your path?
Ooh. Well, I'll really have to go back to the very first time where I really literally felt like my whole life, everything I created, just the rug was just swept out from under me. And this does actually take us back about almost 20 years. Um, I was at the tail end of I'd been married to my first love for over 9 years, but we'd been together more than that. And I'll just tell you right out. I was leaving. We were both in university. I was leaving the university, and I knew that he was there studying. And all of a sudden, my entire body just started tingling. Like, have you ever felt that where you feel like all of a sudden you're floating and yet you're solidly planted on the ground? Like I was sitting in my car driving, but my body was tingling. It was almost like it was floating. I'd never felt that before. And then my eyes narrowed because up ahead, a few cars ahead, I recognized my van. It was the van that my parents had given us, for my husband to drive. And it was that van. And I could see his silhouette in the driver's seat. And then my eyes noticed there was a silhouette in the passenger seat, a silhouette with long hair. So I made my way up to the light, got up next to them, started, kind of honking, rolling down my window. And sure enough, he's in the midst of like eating this muffin and he like stops and he looks over and then he looks over at his passenger and I lean forward and see a very young girl whom I did not recognize. And so yeah, as you can imagine, that was how it all happened. He had was having an affair and that wasn't his first time. Then I found out, he'd done it before. And so we went through the whole deal of the marriage counseling, and I'm searching my heart, trying to figure out, I committed to this man, and I hold to my promises, I keep my promises, and I'm from the South. We don't get divorced. I mean, divorce was not something my family did, really.
Right. Yep.
It wasn't like it was taboo, but it was, I was raised. You get married, did you have kids? Do you do all the things, right? You have a good job, all this stuff. And my whole world was just in an instant. It was like everything that I thought was my foundation, my core base was swept out from under me. Ultimately, I came to that moment almost a year later where coming back from a run, I just sat down on the curb a couple doors down from my house and my head was in my hands and I was just bawling my eyes out. I realized that if I stayed in that relationship, I just felt my soul withering inside. It would just die. And I knew I couldn't do that. I had to cut it. I had to end it. And so the funny thing is, when I finally made that decision to get divorced, it was like there was nothing going to stop me. I mean, I was still scared. I didn't know what I was really going to do. But it was like this force all around me, just pushing me straight to the courthouse. So I put in the filing and I had already applied for a new job, not really sure whether or not I really wanted to do it because I knew that it would send me away. I didn't know where, but I knew I wouldn't be able to stay where I was living at the time. And I think it was actually shortly after I filed for divorce, I actually got the acceptance letter and it said, "Hey, you can report in like 2 weeks." And I was like,
Oh
oh
my
my goodness.
gosh.
And
Wow.
so it was kind of like, well, yes. And gosh, I can't believe this is happening. So, I'm still scared. I'm still not sure. I mean, I'm moving now to another state alone. And he didn't even know yet because he was actually on a trip over in Europe.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So
Look
he
at
came
how
out.
everything just aligned. Everything just like, oh my gosh, everything aligned. Like, you need to
Yeah.
go away. I need to get this. And I don't
And
mean to interrupt you, but I want to say
that's
this
okay.
about your resilience and listeners, this is pretty incredible. And what what a commonality that you and I have. And this was my second divorce, but so they say the
Yeah,
most stressful things in this life, other than the death of someone in our
right,
which is, thanks, Captain Obvious, but the other things
right.
are divorce, a move, and a new job. And
No,
you did all three of them
all
at once. And I can relate because I did the same thing. And I remember when you say that whole like leaving your body or feeling like tingly or whatever, I remember describing when I found out the infidelity in my marriage as well.
yeah.
I remember talking to my daughter's best friend's mom, and I said, "My gosh, it's like he took my heart. He stomped on it
Just
in the dirt
yeah,
and rang it out, and then handed it back to me." But I
just
remember
like
saying this, and
mm,
I think listeners have heard me say this. I remember saying, and I don't know where it came from the depths of my soul. I said, if I have to go through this to help one person, I will. And I have no
oh
idea
wow.
why in my despair I was there. And maybe that was just my higher self, source, universe, whatever, saying, you're going to be okay. You need this
Yeah.
to go forward. So, oh my gosh, you
Mm,
move. You go get your job, the new
wow.
job. Oh my, oh, how did you handle that? Were you by family, or did you move
Oh
away from
no.
family or toward
Now
family?
I moved even farther. So I grew up in Alabama. So I was living in Tennessee. So I'd already moved away from family. And then I moved to Virginia, which is even farther.
Wow.
And no, I didn't know anybody here when I got here. So not only was I going through like, the total existential crisis, right? And trying to find myself and figure out what I'm doing, but, feeling a little lonely and then meeting some people at work, but, wanting like real friendships, I had to come out of my shell. I used to be really shy. People that meet
What?
me now, they're like, "What? You
Yeah, I can't believe
come up
that.
with something?" I'm like, it's crazy, right? But I was really shy. Um, and my voice was a lot softer. I've had to learn how to project my voice more as well. But it's interesting because I remember clearly at one point, and it was within like the first year of me moving to Virginia, I said, "You know what? I want to go out and meet people. I want to do fun things. I want to have friends. So I'm just doing it. I am someone who goes out there and I'm just going to make some friends and just start talking to people." And so I just started looking online and signing up for like those meetup things, and going and then going out to like parties and different stuff and just talking to people, just going up. And yeah, it was a little scary at first, a little awkward, but before long, I actually was looking forward to it. I played it. It was like a game to me. So I was like, I wonder who I'm going to meet tonight. Or I wonder how many friends I'm going to make tonight. Or I wonder what interesting thing is going to happen. And I mean, really was looking forward to it. And that was I mean, all of this, right? All of this growth has been so much learning and self-expansion. And like you said, being able to go back to this and help others and help them understand you can actually choose to change yourself, your personality, your thinking. And it
Yes.
starts with a decision. But
Yeah.
then you have to do the action. You can't just say it and you can't just write it, although both of those are important, but you have to put yourself out there and start doing things. And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, yeah, sometimes when you just start taking an action, you may get a complete red stop in that lane, but something way over out of left field opens up that for whatever reason you never would have noticed or it never would have happened had you not just started doing something. And that I think that is so key because so many of us are so afraid to fail, to mess up, to be judged. Forget all that. Just start doing it because we're all just doing it. And
Yeah.
you know,
And I think what happens is we reach a point in our life when we have our head in our hands and we're like, I don't give a F anymore. Like I'm just gonna do what I have to. Like
yeah,
what's the worst thing that could happen? I mean, I think you get to that point where, if you're going through life like, oh, I can't do that. And I had
oh
never gone anywhere by myself. And
yeah,
it was just weird for me to just go have coffee by myself or go to a restaurant by
yeah,
myself. So uncomfortable. But you're right. If we get out and do those things, I have an acronym since everything for me is about the dogs. My acronym
yeah,
is BONE, and it's, be brave and be
yes,
observant and do what's necessary. And what I love
Mm,
that you just said is exactly what I did. Be expectant. So the expectant part is don't have an expectation. Just
yeah.
be expectant that it's going to be fun. It's going to be something new. I'm going to have a good
Yeah.
meal. I'm going to have a good time. I mean, I'm going to
Yes.
have good conversation. So we release that pressure
Right.
that we
I
put
love
on
that.
ourselves, like, oh
Hmm.
my gosh, I'm single now and I have to go out and meet someone. And my family thing, same thing. No one was divorced. So
Yeah.
you didn't have this like support system that understood how you were going through this or what it felt like to be kind of. I used to tell my parents, I feel like I'm in the ocean without a life raft. It just
Uh,
felt like
yeah.
there was
That's a
no
great
help in
analogy.
sight. It just was so isolating. So I love that
Yeah.
you shared that. Now, how did you evolve to where you are? Like when you met everybody, I did the meetups too. I freaking loved it. It was fun. You guys do this. If you're and I
Right.
actually just did a summit last night with someone. She does a series. You guys should really watch it with a bunch of
Ooh.
experts, and it is called where's my paper? I just had it.
Yeah.
It's
Check that
called
out.
Dating After Divorce. And she does
Ooh.
yeah, dating after divorce for women. And this summit is this will be my second one, like boosting your glow up. And I talk
Ooh.
about removing the stigma of self and or of self-talk. And now I know that sounds like stop talking negative to yourself, but that's not what it is. And so I'm not going to tell you guys what it is, but go to this summit because Stephanie
All right.
Fligari is amazing. The
Ooh.
host is amazing. So I digress. There's my ADD going off a different path. So, okay, you met people and were you feeling more confident? Because I think that's really the
Oh,
big
yeah.
thing. When we get out of a divorce, no matter if you're the leaver or the leavee, we take a
Hmm.
hit. We take a hit to our
Yeah.
pride. We take a hit to our ego. We take a hit to what we thought life would be. So
Hmm.
that's part of like losing that confidence, and we have to work on building that back up, right? So what did you
Right.
do?
Yeah. Well, going through reading a lot of books and things at the time, because, the internet stuff wasn't really big back then. And just recognizing that it doesn't have to define me. I define me. I'm still me. Divorce, the marriage, there, I had some of my best memories in that marriage. I mean, I say it was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
I
we had,
love
I mean,
that.
but it wasn't all roses, that's for sure. And well, so I digress, but I will jump forward quickly and then I'll jump back. I I learned so much about getting standing on my own 2 feet, about not needing that parachute, right? About being able to get out there on my own and be successful and make friends and meet people, and just recognizing that I don't have to be with someone to have my self-worth. I'm valuable for me. So that's
Yes.
important.
Oh yeah.
Now, I will say within the first 6 months of my marriage, this is back when I was 21, within the first 6 months, I knew I'd made a mistake.
Mm.
I mean, there had been things throughout our dating period that, a couple times I was going to end it, but kept going back. And within the first 6 months, I knew this is, he's not the one. And I made a mistake. But again, my pride I didn't want to admit that I was wrong, quote. I didn't want to admit to my parents, especially to my dad, that I had picked the wrong one. And I think that really is at the heart of it. Now, at the time, I did feel it, but of course, you know, I stuck that in a box and I came up with all the reasons why. Oh no, no, this is going to be fine. This is love your life, all this stuff. You made a commitment and all this. And so, yeah, 10 years later, boom.
Yeah.
But I
Did
just
you find
I
yourself? I
point
don't
that
want.
out because
I
it's like,
Sorry, I'm sorry. I
yeah,
didn't mean to interrupt you, but did you find yourself making excuses? Because I did the same thing. I didn't want my parents to say, I told you so. I
oh
got
yeah,
married in
yep,
19. And so, they're
yeah,
like, don't do this. And they sort of like turned their back on me because they didn't like him. And
oh,
then I got pregnant with my daughter. So, but did you find
oh.
yourself? I found myself doing the same thing. Like, I'm going to prove this is going to work. And I made excuse after excuse after excuse
I
for his
I think that
behavior.
was definitely in there. Yes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, there was definitely that in there as well. Um, but the interesting thing is, I used to tell him, because in my mind, once you made that commitment and I, marriage was, this unbreakable bond, right? And I used to tell him, the only thing that you could ever do that would make me leave you is if you cheated on me. I
Oh,
mean, that was
wow.
like the worst thing I could think of because, I couldn't think of anything worse than that, right? I can think of a lot of worse things now, but,
I
but
know.
anyway. But the thing is, okay, first of all, why would you even say that? Why would I even put that in my mind, right? Because our minds are designed to keep us safe
Mm,
and alive. So yes, we always our minds are always scanning for threats. They're always looking for what's the worst case scenario, right? The problem with that is it's fine to keep you safe and alive, but that's not where you want to stay. You don't always want to be thinking like that. And especially if you're in a relationship or you're in a new job or whatever the thing is, uh, if you're worried about an illness, and I want to get to a quick story on that later as well.
yeah.
You want to focus on your end goal, the positive thing, right? And I should have been saying, you know what, this is going to be a fun, mutually loving, supportive, and mutually enriching relationship, and we're going to enjoy it for as long as it lasts. I mean, but we're going to
Yeah.
enjoy it, right? And that
Right.
would have been planting seeds of fun, enjoyment, support, love, excitement, and all that good stuff. Not, well, the only thing that will, because what does your mind focus on? Energy flows where your focus goes and it grows. And if you keep, and whatever you say and you keep repeating does become a belief. And so I firmly understand now I planted that seed. And of course, he's, it was his fault. He made that, but I kind of created that. I definitely co created it because I
Wow.
planted the seed and I was focusing on that. And, I would never do that now, but I didn't know that back then. And so
Yeah.
that's another reason why teaching these kids how to choose better thoughts and how to keep focused on the positive end, the positive outcome that you desire. Yes, be
Yeah.
aware of threats, but say, okay, I see you, and we're going to stay away from that, and then dismiss it. Do
Yeah.
not waste another second on it, and
Yeah.
certainly don't keep repeating it. Right?
Exactly. It's how we reduce anxiety, like teaching the
Mm-hmm.
kids, especially at a young age, because anxiety is simply a fear of what we can't control and what we don't know. And so
Exactly.
I love that you say it, and I always say, speak it as you want it. So, or, you've heard the
Yeah,
thing,
that's great.
dress for the
Yeah.
job you want. It's that same
Uh,
idea where it's like,
Principle. Yep.
if you think it, then you can be it. That's really the whole thing. But I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, you guys are so woo woo," and "Oh, that all sounds really good." But it worked. It worked, and I'm not saying it's going to be
It's
overnight. We know it's not going to be an overnight thing. But man, how about one negative self-talk reframe a day? How about one positive thought in the morning for what you're grateful for, or at the end of the day? Something I did really well today is blank. Like, you can do it in little
exactly.
small, tiny little bites where then it becomes
Yes.
this. Because what is it? You find what you seek. So if I'm
Yes.
looking for negative stuff in my life, I'll find it. I remember my husband
Exactly.
saying at the beginning of our dating life, he was very ugh, he was very rigid. So we had dated and then I broke up with him because he was just so rigid. And I remember
Hmm.
him saying we were at lunch in Arizona. We took a little trip up north to
Hmm.
Holbrook, I think it was. And he said to me, I want you to tell me the things that are wrong with me, the things that I'm doing
Whoa.
wrong. And I literally looked at him and I said, I'm not going to do that. And he goes, no, no,
Good.
really, I want you to do that. And I said, absolutely not. I said, if you tell me to look for negative things, that's all I'm going to see. That's all
Right.
I'm going to see. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to do that. I do not want to be in a relationship where all I do is see what's wrong with you. I did that in my
Good on
marriages.
you.
That
Yeah.
was bad enough. I saw it without them asking for it. So along
Yeah.
those same lines, I love what you're saying. You're absolutely right. So you go
It's
further. And when did you discover meditation? When did that come into your existence?
oh my goodness. Not
I
soon enough, right?
know, right?
Okay. So is actually I had dabbled with meditation around the time that I got pregnant with my daughter. She's 13 now. And I had done some yoga, off and on throughout my, life, but never a lot. So when I first started doing some meditation, I was introduced to it through yoga, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. But then, of course, I had her, and things got really busy, and then I wasn't able to do it every day anymore. But when COVID hit and everybody was sent home, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it had been a whirlwind. I had just ended my second relationship, which was with her father. I had to ask him to move out. And thank goodness it just happened like a couple weeks before everything shut down. And I thought, oh my gosh, couldn't imagine having been in the house with him still there. It just would have been a nightmare.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh.
he just,
Yeah.
we just were not communicating. It was a whole nother issue, but it just was not, we weren't setting a good example for the kids. He has a son from a previous relationship, and it just was not working out at all. It hadn't been actually for a while. So
I love that you say that because I
uh,
say this when I talk about with women when we have divorce recovery in my coaching, and I always say this: if you don't heal yourself, you're going to meet the same man with a different face, and you just
you're
proved
right.
it. I did the same thing over and over.
Yep.
Like, I used to say, God, I'm a slow learner. It wasn't that; it was that I hadn't understood who I was. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't have this love and this self-worth. I'm pleased. I'm sad you went through it, but I'm pleased that I'm not the
Yeah.
only one. And people who are out there recovering from divorce, don't jump in to dating right away. Let's get to know you first. And then once you heal and you love yourself,
Connection. I think we froze.
oh, there you
There
go.
we are.
And once you get to know yourself, don't just jump right into dating before you know what you want and who
Yeah.
you are and what your
Right.
expectations are and what you deserve. So I'm so happy that I know a lot of people are going to resonate with that because I did the same thing. So
You
good for
know,
you.
and well, thank you. And you're right. And when I say, I've been doing a lot of self-development and work on myself, I mean, this is like decades. I feel like I'm on my fourth life now.
I know, right?
Um, because I did learn a lot from the first relationship. And I actually wrote down what I was looking for in my, next relationship. And my ex, he met a lot of those things. The problem was I had not done all of the inner work yet, and I hadn't quite figured out that there are certain things that are even more important that I hadn't really focused on, like communication, like being able to have um, loving conversations in ways that are uplifting and even on about hard topics, right?
Yeah,
Not putting each other down, not ignoring, not playing passive aggressive things, and just and I'll tell you, the last year that we were together, literally, I felt like we were just roommates passing in the night. The only time we talked was about the kids, and then other than that, we argued, and so we just didn't really talk. And it's like I can't live like this. I can't live. This is not a relationship, and it never really was a not the kind of relationship that I know that people are capable of and that I deserve and that I
yeah,
desire in the future. Because now I've developed my relationship with myself and my higher power, which I'm so eternally grateful for. And that was through
yeah.
meditation.
Oh my
And it was through
gosh.
meditation that I got my mission. So I started meditating every day. And no kidding, within the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, I was feeling, I mean, I was meditating morning, night, sometimes even during the day. And I just felt this inner calm, this inner connection like I had never felt before. So at peace, so at one with the world, with life, with the universe. And I thought, why didn't anyone ever teach me this? How come nobody ever taught me? And it's not their fault. They didn't know. They weren't taught.
Yeah,
And that's when it hit me. Why don't they teach this in schools? Meditation needs to be taught in schools. It's not the thing about religious, it's about you connecting within to your own power, to your own inner guidance. You call it whatever you want, but it's there. It's true. Science has proven it. Anybody who's skeptical, you just go to the scientists. We are a consciousness. We are not our thoughts. We are not our bodies. We are not this physical world. We are consciousness, pure energy, and everything is pure energy. And that's what connects us all. That's what
yeah.
is so exciting, because when you recognize this and you connect within, I like to think of it as we are all like rays of the sun and we are radiating out. But we all come back to that central core of the sun, the energy, the brightness, the heat, the
Yeah.
warmth, the love. So we're all connected. And you know, the farther you go out, those rays, they dissipate, they look different, and they look different in different times and to each other, right? If from different angles. Everybody has a unique view of what that sun ray is, but you're
Mm.
still an expression of that central core, and that connects us all.
Yeah.
And when you recognize that, it changes everything. You begin to recognize that, you know, what I do to myself, I am doing to others, and what I do to others, I'm doing to myself. You know, that whole be the change and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's true, but you have to really understand that. You got to feel it inside. And
Yeah.
that's why I say meditation it's the number one tool that we need to teach kids and in schools. And it starts with the breath. It's just simply deep breathing.
Yep.
And when I learned, Dr. Libby Weaver does research on this, and she said, you know, it instantly calms the body. And I'm like, well, shoot, if it's scientifically proven, the number one way to instantly calm your body is to take a deep, slow belly breath. And the key is you extend your exhalation. So you exhale longer for than you inhale. And
Mm.
that sends the powerful signal. The body sends that signal to the mind that you are safe. So it takes you out of that fight or flight stress response mode, the sympathetic nervous system. It puts you into the parasympathetic, peaceful, rest, digest, create mode. And then
Mm.
once you're, you know, you take that deep breath. And that's why intuitively we're always telling kids that are upset, slow down, calm down, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Intuitively, we all do this
Yeah. Right.
because we understand it, right? But when you
Yeah.
and even with your dogs, right? When they're all jumping around, you're, okay, okay, calm down, slow down, sit down, sit down. We want them to sit because that's when they can start, you know, calming down and taking a deep breath. And then once you do that, then you can actually start looking and observing the thoughts that you have and choosing better thoughts. And the number one way to instantly stop that negative spiral, that complaint train that goes on in your mind, is gratitude. That's the switch. You got to start expressing gratitude immediately.
Mm, yes.
And then
Yes.
once you start expressing gratitude, right, that raises your frequency, you start to feel better. And if you do it, I mean, you can do it in your head, do it out loud. It's more powerful. Write it down. It's even more powerful. That's why gratitude journals are so powerful.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, write down 20 things that you're grateful for. No kidding. Read through them. You will start feeling better. And when you're in that state, then you can really start looking at whatever that issue, whatever that problem was that's bothering you, and saying, huh, get curious about it. You know, how can I look at this in a different way? How can I flip it? Just
Yeah.
flip it. Say the opposite. Instead of,
Yes.
gosh, I never make friends. Why does this always happen to me? No, stop that. I always make friends easily and effortlessly. I am a person who can make friends and I enjoy lots of friendships. And you keep repeating something like that, right?
Yes.
Over
Yes.
time, it may not sound right immediately, it may feel funny, but over time, anything you repeat does become a belief as long as you don't negate it, right? You have to
Hmm.
feel into it, you have to believe it, you have to picture it. And you
Yeah.
gotta start getting out there and doing it.
Exactly. And the thing is you're creating a new habit because they say, three thoughts create a belief, three
Yeah.
beliefs create a habit, so on and so forth. And so the thing is I remember, being in that growth period. And I started hiking. We had a lake like 10 or 20 minutes
Wow.
away, and I went to the lake and I'd start hiking. And I literally would be thankful and grateful for the smallest things. I'd say, I'm going to look for a flower on my path. And then I'd see a flower and I'd go, I am so grateful for that flower. Thank you. Or I would say, let me meet someone and just have a nice, casual conversation. And then I'd have someone come on the trail. It's the
Yes,
little things. And
it is.
even if you're ill, okay, I have chronic pain, but you know what? I like to counter that by saying, I am so grateful I have a body that works. I'm so grateful I don't have
Yes.
a terminal illness. I'm so grateful that my body takes nourishment and keeps me going. I'm so grateful I can move. My muscles are strong. It's just you get into that habit and then it just becomes a way of life. I think it just becomes
Yes.
who you are. When people say, "Oh my God, Maureen, you're so positive, you're so uplifting," I'm like, I had to do that literally to come out of survival mode because I was in survival mode where it was just status quo. And listeners, I know
Mm,
you know this when you're coming out of something that's crisis, that's trauma, that's um, devastating. There is no
yeah.
way you can go from that to being Pollyanna and everything's so great. Look at the flower on the trail. But what you can do is just take it just one moment and one
Little-
day at a time, right? And the meditation
Yeah.
is such a beautiful thing. Now, I want to, and we're going to get more into what we're going to talk about with kids, but our generation, I'm sure I'm older than you, but our generation, they called it, that's just metaphysical stuff. Like it wasn't as
Uh,
embraced, right? Now we call it,
right.
that's woo woo. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
embraced, and it is. People think, oh, it's such a opposing thing to religion, but really, it's like you said, it is a scientific practice that literally our bodies just need to decompress, just as much as taking a bath to relax or running. Some people get a runner's high, so
Oh
it's
yeah.
another method. Now, what
Hmm.
I struggled with when I first started meditating were two things. I'm ADHD, and I have a lot of clients who are ADHD. I coach neurodiverse people, so we all know how hard it is for us to sit still and clear our minds. I mean, I have insomnia. I stay up till midnight every night, and I'm up by 6 a.m., 7 a.m. because I just can't shut
That's
my
awesome.
I can't shut my
That's
darn
awesome.
mind down. So that was really tough. So when it comes to
Huh.
meditation, what's your advice for people such as myself who have a hard time focusing or just clearing
Yeah.
our minds? What is your suggestion with the different types of meditation that would help us?
Well, I love that you brought this up because that's something that my mind used to race all the time. And I used to literally tell myself, I need to just stop thinking. I just have to stop thinking. I think too much, right?
Yeah.
And I finally found what calms that and keeps it calm, and it's meditation. So I used to sometimes I would get, stay up late and then wake up early and be fine too and all. But exercise, getting that energy out, like I exercise every day, whether it's a walk or I run a couple days a week. I do anaerobic and aerobic exercises, weights, at least 15 to 20 minutes every day. So that exercise is a big thing because not only does it is it healthy for your body, but it gets the energy and all of everything flowing and moving. And so it does help you that when you're ready to rest, it helps your body get calmer
Mhm.
because it's like, well, yeah, I need to rest because I want to rejuvenate and I got to recuperate all this energy that you spent. So that's one thing. But with the meditation, there's so many types of meditation out there. There's, some people they like to focus on a sound. It could be like a fan or, some like white noise, right?
Yep.
Some people more visual. They don't want to close their eyes. They want to focus like a candle, fire. Now that's really powerful too, because think about it. From the dawn of mankind, fire has been with us. That's why sitting around campfires is so relaxing and so everyone loves it because we've done that for as long as man has been on the earth, ever since fire was discovered, right? So
Yeah.
that's a really powerful one. Um, I like to listen to a guided meditation with some music. I have, there's tons of free ones on YouTube. You can just play around with it. Dr. Joe Dispenza has some excellent ones. I also love Jess Shepherd. She from Rising Higher Meditations. Her voice is so soothing. She's got some really powerful ones. There's a ton out there. I'm also a member of Mind Valley, and they have a ton. There's the Calm app. You just have to kind of play with it and experiment. Sometimes I'll do a meditation where it's just soothing music, like some of the meditation music you find on YouTube, and there's no words, and it's just music, and I just focus on deep breathing. But I think the most important thing is to focus on the breathing. Focus on the fact, bring your awareness into your heart. You want to get out of your head and into your heart because your heart is the center of your soul. And that's what you're doing here. You are cultivating a relationship with your soul, right?
Mhm.
So your mind is supposed to be a tool that we use to keep us safe and alive, but it's subservient to our soul. Our soul is our guidance. That's why everybody says, what does your heart tell you? You know, you're breaking my heart. oh, my heart, I wanted to do it, but my heart just wasn't in it. That's why we say
Wow.
this,
Oh, wow.
because our
Yes.
heart is the center of our soul, right? So you have to, and it's just like any relationship, right? It's just like dating and dancing. You got to cultivate that relationship and daily, just like brushing your teeth. I love saying meditation. I mean, it's like brushing. If you do it once a week, it doesn't do you any good. You got to brush every day. You got to meditate every day, and at least twice a day is better, even if it's just 5 minutes. I mean,
Mm,
Dr. Joe Dispenza says that even just 5 minutes a day can make a difference. And the point is, you're cultivating that calm center of confidence, connection within yourself. And the
yeah.
more that you do it, and you can do this where some people that they meditate so they can then get insights and they journal. I've done that. I do that, occasionally when it just inspires me. Some people, they're like looking for an answer and they go into the meditation. They're like, okay, what's the best decision I can make here? Well, what is my guidance? And sometimes you get a hit and sometimes you don't. But the more again that you practice it and that you do it and that you ask yourself for your own inner guidance, the stronger the relationship will get, and the more that you will begin to listen and be able
Mm,
to receive it. It's just like, you're priming the pump. When you first start, pumping that old school pump, nothing comes out.
yeah.
Maybe some air, right?
Yeah.
You got to keep priming it. And it's just like with anything else. The first time um, you call your dog over, your dog's running crazy and it's not coming to you. And eventually, you learn to tease it with like a snack or something. So maybe that's what you do. You say, okay, I'm going to set this timer. I'm going to do a 5 minute meditation. At the end of the 5 minutes, when it buzzes, now I get to do and pick something fun. I'm going to dance to my music. I'm going to go read a book. I'm going to watch a movie. I'm going to go for a run. Whatever it is that lights you up.
Yeah.
But commit to doing it every day.
Yeah.
In time, I guarantee you, when that buzzer goes off at 5 minutes, and maybe you start to extend it a little bit, but you might find yourself thinking, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just going to sit here for another minute. Before
Yeah.
you know it, you're going to be sitting there for like 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. And like a flash, you're like, wow, I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah.
It's just like any muscle, it's just like any exercise. You just keep doing it, commit, and in no time, it will become your best friend because it is the time when you can connect within and you do quiet the mind. And that's
Yeah.
powerful. And then you become to where even the gratitudes, like you said, just go in, breathing, and then just start thinking of all the things that you're grateful for. That's a beautiful meditation. You come out of that just hugging yourself, loving your dogs and your animals, and just loving life. And
It's
that's
funny because
enough.
you come and it becomes this thing just like you do in your life where it's like, oh, some people have to have their coffee every morning. Some people have to, have their
Mm,
smoothie. Some people do their
yep.
walk. It becomes that thing where it's like, that feels really good to
I
do this. It's like you get sort of addicted to the
Yes.
peace. You get like,
Yes.
okay, this is something I need to do. And you can do it either in the morning or you can do it, at night. For me, it was always
Both.
sort of evening was really good to sort of bring down an ADHD person
Sure.
where it sort of all that overstimulation of the day, it was brought down. And I'm going to say this, um, for people that have difficulties, and I've done this with my clients, I've suggested this. So when I started meditating, I made a little place where I could meditate. I had pillows and I have my
Awesome.
crystals and incense. And I'm going to say this to the audience. It doesn't have to be anything big and, like a big old whatever
No.
thing. But I always say make a place of things that you
Yeah.
love. Like you could put a
Mm,
picture of your children, you could put something that you got as a child, but make
hmm
yourself a space of love and of
Yeah.
self-love because these are all things that are me and that I love and that
Yeah.
means something. So you invoke emotion as you're going to go to
Yes.
meditate. I cannot sit there and listen to white noise. I cannot sit there and listen to silence. So I love Jason Stevenson. He's got an Australian accent.
Oh,
So, oh my
yes.
gosh,
He's great too.
his
Yeah.
guided meditations are
Oh,
fantastic. And I think everybody who was starting out with meditation, this is one of the challenges you feel like you're creating it. Like I'm making this up in my head when you're seeing stuff.
Yeah.
The way I got out of that, especially with a crazy mind that doesn't stop because I'm all over, flashes. I have like flashes and visions. And
Oh,
the way
wow.
I got through that was to focus on color. And I would
Ooh,
tell myself, look at everything that is not darkness. So I would say, just look at everything
nice.
that's light. And then I would see, I see purples and yellows a lot. And so I'd say, I would
Awesome.
see just these sort of flowy colors. And then I got into the state where it was like, oh, okay, things are coming to me. So rather than sitting there uncomfortable, wanting to make something happen,
Hmm.
just focus immediately on everything that is not dark, and
Right.
then, because it's your subconscious giving you that information, it's your higher self, it's
Right.
you're getting this information for your
Hmm.
your higher good. So if you say to yourself, I'm creating something, this is my imagination, then just let it go, see where it goes. If you're
Yeah,
imagining it, let it go, let's see where that goes. Don't worry about doing it right. Do you agree with that?
exactly. Oh, yeah, you're so right. It's about being open and receiving, allowing space, right? In your mind and in your body. And that's what the breath too. You're creating more space. You're just feeling into it to allow yourself to receive and listen and hear. I love it. I love the way you explain that. That's really awesome.
So if it were a perfect world like I want this to be Atlantis. So I want this absolute perfect world. So if this were an absolute perfect world, what is your vision for how we teach children meditation in school?
Mm, I just have this vision of every child in every classroom every morning, uh, whether they're young or older, but you're seated or you're standing or you're sitting in the chair. They're just taking those deep, slow belly breaths, even just 3 to 5, deep breaths. Breathe in for a count of 6 to 8, hold it for a count of 6 to 8, and then exhale for a count of, 8 to 10. You want to exhale for longer than your inhale. And just doing that, and then like encouraging them to call to mind. And this is actually what I'm taking you through here is the my time within practice, the one that I created for the kids in the classrooms and even for parents at home. But
Yes.
once you get them doing that, then you say, call to mind, bring to mind an image of something that just brings you pure love and light, something you just love. Could be your favorite stuffed animal, could be your favorite pet, could be a favorite memory, could be something you're looking forward to, that big trip, whatever. Just anything that just lights you up, makes you feel joy and love. And then once you're in that state, and that again is synonymous with gratitude, right? You start expressing the gratitude. You're like, oh, I'm so grateful for my stuffy, for my pet, for my whatever. And then you start making those positive statements. I am enough. I am safe. I am lovable. I am significant. I matter. And what I think matters. And I choose the path of love. I choose to
Ah,
be a person of increase, and they can start coming up with their own statements. I choose to be someone who can make friends, because you got to take those baby steps, like you said, sometimes. I choose to be someone who is a good friend, you
ah,
know,
I
and
love that so much because it's a very simple thing we can teach our children at home. My
absolutely.
granddaughters are 10 or 11 and 12 now, and when they would live with me or come and visit me, we had a thing at night where we did night meditations, and they had
Yes.
on their phone, they had a little app that was children's meditation, which was super fun. And that's
Yeah.
what we would do. I had a little saying that they would say before bed, and then they would
Mm-hmm.
fall asleep to doing meditation. And so the difference in
Wow.
their wanting to go to bed, and the difference in their calmness and their self-love, I saw it. I really, really saw the difference in that. And
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely beautiful. And think of how we're changing an entire generation
Yes.
from, I mean, we're on the tail end of our generation. Like, we're learning, thank goodness a lot of us are learning this later in life, but when we're starting off this new generation
Mm-hmm.
fresh with self-love, confidence, and just emotional regulation, like you said,
Yep.
if we're starting off a new generation, just think how different the world can be. It will be, love will outdo anything else. It's like that's my
Yes.
hope, my dream, and my wish that we're just sort of, it's like, what's that? Like if you have, say, some dye in your in a glass, and then you just keep
Okay.
adding water.
Uh,
Well, as you add
Dilutes.
more and more and more water, it fades, it fades, it fades, it fades until you finally just have a glass of water, just clear, beautiful water. I look at it like that. Changing the next generation is
Oh,
like
that's neat.
we're getting it better and we're getting it better and we're getting it better. So I love all of
Yes.
that so much. And oh my gosh, I could talk to you forever. We're running out of time. But what I want to know is, where do we find you? Where do we find your book, your website, all
Oh,
that stuff? I want you to tell us all about you.
awesome. Thank you so much. Well, my website is www.juliedeanneauthor.com. So it's Julie, Julie. Deanne is just DANN author.com. Now, on there, you can access my book. I do send out author signed copies. So reach out to me and we can make those arrangements. Or you can get it on Amazon or at Barnes and Noble. It's Which Would You Choose? Has a cute little sloth based on my daughter's huge stuffy sloth animal. Let's see, my TEDx talk is the link is on my website. It's the number one tool every school needs to teach and every child needs to know. I do love speaking both in schools and for groups. Done multiple speaking engagements outdoors. I love those at festivals and things. But just teaching kids these powerful practices. I also am a certified life transformation coach. So I actually teach adults and teens the success blueprint. We were talking about that earlier. How do you people call it woo woo, or they say, these tools like breathing and meditation and listening and just becoming successful. There's an actual blueprint. There are steps to creating a successful life, just like successful in any sport or any trade, anything that you do in life. There are you model it after people who have done what's successful, right? So the success blueprint is based on Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, and he had studied multitudes of successful people throughout history, and so it's now codified in a program, and that's what I coach on. But it's infused in my book. Which would you choose? These brave thinking principles too, which is what I love. It's helping kids learn to self-regulate and learn emotional intelligence, how to read this mind body feedback loop, right? Because we aren't
Yeah.
really taught that. And yeah, you're right, Maureen. There's so much more we could get into, so much more we could talk about. I didn't even tell you about my scare story that I used my thinking to like end it. So I
Oh,
didn't go into any illness, but yeah.
yeah. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
we'll just have to have another session.
I know, right? We'll have to do a part two for sure. No, that's amazing because you're right. There is a lot more to where you can literally the mind over matter is a
Hmm.
real thing. You can talk
Yeah.
yourself out of an illness, and you can also talk yourself
Yeah.
into an illness. And I know that
Oh yeah.
surrounding myself in toxic relationships really, really affected my health in a extremely negative way. So
Mm,
that's very
yeah.
true. We're gonna have healthier children, happier children,
Oh,
well-adjusted children, more
yeah.
kind and
And adults will be
compassionate.
happier and then too. I mean, you're right. The Dalai Lama says if we would teach children meditation, we would eliminate violence within one generation.
Yes,
And I
I
totally believe that, and I'm all for it. So,
I love the Dalai Lama. I love that so
yeah,
much. I love it so much. One generation. That's what I'm saying. Let's keep
yeah,
pouring the water. Let's keep pouring the water in there.
that's
Let's
right.
just
For the love.
till it's clear. So since we always talk about things that are sort of heavy here on I Never Knew, I have little segments that I do at the very end.
Yes.
And there are five of them, and I want you to pick a number between one and five, and this will be your question.
5.
Ooh, I love it. Number five is called Make It Stop. And this is a song or a commercial that tends to get stuck in your head.
You mean something that I have stuck in my head
Yeah.
or
Is there,
anything? Oh my gosh.
yeah, something that you find yourself singing and you're like, oh, why is that in my head? Why is that in my head?
Oh my gosh. My daughter plays this different music, and yes, it'll get into my head. And the funny thing is, over time, I begin to like it, right? So she really got into, she would kick me if she heard me. She really got into watching Lemonade Mouth. Was it Lemonade Mouth? It's a Disney movie that came out years ago, but it's about this group of high schoolers that forms a band. And so one of their songs is Determinate, Determinate. And it's a great song too, because it's about you determining what you want your life to be like and just, dancing in the bleachers until you can get out on the field, right? And, don't let it stop you. Keep going. And I started listening to it. I was like, oh my gosh. So now it's part of my playlist.
I love that. I love that so much. I think it's the mind is interesting because, excuse me. Um,
Bless you.
Sometimes there's things that you wake up and you have this in your head and you're like, why is that in my head? Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
didn't hear that. I didn't see anything with that. And some of them are kind of annoying. Like for me, there's
Yeah.
that, what's that song by the guy? Because I'm happy. That
Oh,
one. Oh, I
yeah, that
know.
one used to get in my head and it used to annoy me.
I know, not to be a downer, guys, because I love being happy, but oh my gosh, that one.
But not
And
that song. Yeah.
I remember, I remember what was there was one that was like a screensaver on my computer when I worked at a job that was soul sucking for me. It was like, oh,
Oh, no.
I think it was sitting on the dock of the bay. And now it's like
Uh,
I can't hear it without being like,
oh, that's a cute one.
ah. So yeah, it's just funny. Yeah, listeners, pay attention to some of the things that come into your head, like write it down and be like, what is that song really about? What does that really mean?
Oh, yeah.
Why am I thinking about that? So that's kind of fun. But thank you. I love that lemonade
Yeah, I
head.
love that. Yeah.
Determinate.
That's right. All the youngins will probably know what I was talking about. I know it's lemonade. I always want to say lemonade smash mouth, but it's not. I think it's lemonade mouth. I think I'm mixing smashing pumpkins and lemon.
Right.
That's an old band. Yeah.
Oh my God, I know dating ourselves. I love that so much. So, guys, her program is called My Time Within. And again, she does speaking. Go see her YouTube. Don't forget to go see her YouTube because, our YouTube successes are all about viewers. And eventually I'll get my TED Talk done.
Yes.
COVID put a kibosh on that one. I was supposed to do one, but I love it. Her website, don't forget juliedanauthor.com, where you can get her books and Amazon, and I'll have all of that stuff in her show notes. And I just appreciate you so much for being here, my love. And what a fun conversation as I knew it would be. So thank you for what you're
Oh,
doing in the
Maureen.
world and how you're pouring water into change the next generation. And I love and I join in with you in that. So thank you.
Well, bless you too, Maureen, and thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for this wonderful show. Thank you for lighting up hearts and minds around the world with these fun and inspiring and just motivational and helpful stories and podcasts and talks. It's just I love what you do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, listeners, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed my good girl, Julie. I love, love, love everything that she's doing. And if you YouTube, you can see her video and she just has this light about her and she's just so beautiful. She's got this natural beauty I wish I had that she just threw on a baseball hat and she's out in nature today and she looks stunning while I have to sit there and try to do something with my hair and makeup. But I love it. It's who you are. It's your
Buddy.
soul. Your soul is grounded in just that natural inner light. And I love that it shines out. So everything you
Thank you.
said is wonderful, guys. Don't forget to speak it as you want it and do your meditation. Just start your meditation. Start slowly. If you
Great.
want to get a hold of Julie as well or myself for any podcast ideas or you want to be a guest, my books, my coaching, my speaking, everything is a one-stop shop at more life coach Maureen.com. So life coach Maureen, all one one big fat word, and Maureen is Maureen, in case you don't know that. So, again, thank you all for being here. Don't forget my books. My dog is more enlightened than I am, and my dog is my relationship coach. And my children's book, My Dog Bexley, is just like me, also teaching our little ones about mindfulness and emotions and how they're good. They're good to have. It's okay to express them. And let's start them off. Mine is for the little guys under 6. So my 14-month-old granddaughter picks that book every night for them to read to her. And my picture's on the back, and so she flips it over and she doesn't say Mimi yet, but she points. And so I think she knows it's me, but it's cute because she
Oh,
she
I love
loves
that.
she loves the book. So what else do we have? We have the dog boutique, guys, all healthy treats, paw balm, organic shampoo for your puppies, as well as tons and tons of other fun items with Christmas coming up, the holidays coming up. Go on there and buy some stuff for your dog loving friends. Go on mydogiseverything.net and I'll get that shipped out to you right away. And let's see, I think that's going to do it for us today. So make sure that you guys reach out and make sure you subscribe so you know when we have new episodes coming out. And we love a good review. 5 stars would be preferred. We have all 5 stars right now. Yay. So love you all for being here and take care of yourselves. Take care of you. Take care of each other. Most of all, take care of those furry babies for me. And let's make sure that we adopt and don't shop because there are so many rescues and places where dogs need a forever home and they'll find you. I promise you. You walk through a dog rescue, that one is going to find you. It's just going to be this draw and you need each other and that is pure unconditional love right there. Or a kitty. I'm okay with kitties too. I love kitties. I have a kitty. So thank you all for being here. Until next week. Bye.